In the meantime, the national housing program has caused so many controversies that the finance police got interested in inspecting it. This was only after the Anti-Corruption Council session, during which the sensational details of housing distribution process were revealed to public. It was established that many flats are distributed through the mediating structures, while the recipients turned out to be far not needy people.
Askar Suleymanov doesn't wish to stop his struggle for housing. He wants to stand up for his rights of a repatriate. However, now he is standing in the waiting list to receive an apartment. I'm waiting in the list for 4 years. Already my turn has shifted for 230 less people during 3 years. The folder Suleymanov is holding has piles of papers, the responses of authorities to his complaints. I appealed to all, Astana prosecutor, Korchagin, parliament and even prime minister. Responses from them were all negative. Askar knows his position, which is 60th in the list. It's his personal initiative to track it, but during a session of the Public Anti-Corruption Council, officials were surprised that the city administration doesn't publish the waiting list, though it's required by law. Meanwhile, the social housing is misused. Please publish this list in the newspaper, several editions, and in the next edition publish who in that list have already received. It's almost impossible to track down the difference between the databases of the waiting list and the actual recipients. It takes to be really in need of housing to do so. Meanwhile, the officials have created a parallel list through which the apartments are distributed in fast and easy ways. The similar violations were registered when Malibekov received an apartment when his wife and also son owned a cottage and apartment in Astana. In total, 23 violations of the same kind were established by the Commission. Anyway, Sergei Kharashun, a person in charge of the flat distribution by the city administration, was not fired after the reveal of the facts that 78 of all flats were distributed with violations. However, the finance police has got interested in violators. 9 facts of violations were observed in Astana only. We'll conduct inspections on all facts voiced during the Nuratan Party Anti-Corruption Council. Askar lives along with his wife and 3 children in the 12-square-meter room rented in a communal apartment. While preparing a tea in his temporary housing, he keeps hoping that his turn in the list will come soon.
The appeal on the decision of the first instance court made by the oil industry workers was declined again. 3 workers of the Janajol deposit in Aktabe region are charged with organizing unsanctioned rally. However, the workers don't plead guilty and claim that the peaceful assembly held on June 16th in Janajol village was joined by workers voluntarily.
The defendant's appeal shall be dismissed.
The Aktabe Regional Court has found 3 workers of the Janajol oil field responsible for organizing an unsanctioned rally. On June 18th, the first instance court issued warnings and fined them for $5 each. Workers, though, disagree with the decision and intend to stand up for their rights, reaching the highest judicial instance if necessary. We are going to appeal to the National Court first, if necessary, then to the Supreme Court, and if that will not help, we'll go further, the international courts. We'll make sure not to stop and go until the end. Amongst 800 protesting, the Aktabe management has chosen only these 3 as the organizers of the strike. Workers claim it was a peaceful assembly and participating in it was a personal choice of each of them. It's not true that this was all started by 3 persons only. You may ask, there are witnesses who can confirm that this was a mass voluntary action, because all of us are in need of money and better work conditions. On June 16, about 300 workers started the strike and were joined by 500 more from the neighboring Kinkiak mine the next day. Then the CEO of the CNPC Aktobe has promised that the oil workers' demands will be fulfilled. However, the very next day their case was turned to the district court.
The Talmas National Foundation has sued the Almaty city administration for unreasonable rejection of the application for holding a meeting. The activists were going to support the miners of the ArcelorMittal Temirtau after a series of accidents in the minefields. However, the city administration people didn't show up in the pre-trial.
The appeal was reviewed by the Deputy Akim Seydakhmanov and it was rejected. The reason of refusal is that our appeal allegedly fomented race, national and social intolerance. Therefore, we disagree with the response and have filed a lawsuit demanding to cancel that decision, which we think is illegitimate and unreasonable.
The public activists say their actions never implied fermentation or neither inter-ethnic, racial or social intolerance. They claim to pursue only one goal: to support the miners in Karaganda, who have rallied several times already, demanding the authorities to raise their wages and disability grants increase. As it became a tradition, the Almaty activists decided to litigate the Almaty city administration decision in the court. Administration representatives failed to show up there.
The final hearing on the case of a Mali citizen Idrissa Traore was held in Almaty on Thursday. Traore has sued the immigration authorities for violating his rights. After the debates, which lasted about 3 minutes, the plaintiff reminded the judge of the compensation amount, which the defendants didn't agree with. In the end, the prosecution asked to decline the claim.
Idrissa Traore lives in Kazakhstan for more than 20 years and has a residence permit. He filed a lawsuit against the immigration police when he realized his rights were actually violated. Idrissa says he is trying to convince the court that a foreigner who has a residence permit has only 3 differences from the permanent resident of Kazakhstan. First, he says, it is that he cannot participate in the elections, he cannot be drafted for military and cannot visit the closed regime facilities. He blames the immigration authorities in bureaucratic hassle that cost him a job. The compensation sum Idrissa set up on the minimal wage index, which is miserable. The court will announce its decision on the case of a Malian on Monday next week.
The decision itself is not that important for me, whether it will be positive or negative. I think in a way I already won just because I brought them to the court. What they say and practice within the organization is far different from what the law states, but they say the judge may take their side, and I won't be surprised if it happens. As saying states, the crowd doesn't pick on another crowd.
The Pavlodar is experiencing a shortage of meat caused by the anthrax outbreak. Now all the meat producers are obliged to kill the animals in specialized slaughter ventures only, number of which is limited. In select markets, the sales of milk products are completely banned until further notice from local authorities.
Pavlodar is experiencing a meat shortage as farmers stop supplying the city markets with goods because of severe control resulted from the recent anthrax outbreak in the region. You have to have 5 documents to sell the beef: the certificates from the administration, then to the slaughterhouse, then veterinary doctor stamps and more formalities in the district level, and only then it arrives here. At the same time, selling of milk products in the farmers' markets has been fully banned until the further notice of the regional administration.
The vaccination is underway, and it's important that the vaccinated animals won't get in there, and as you know, we have anthrax quarantine zones. It's all related with it.
The regional Maslihat deputy Serik Suleimanov thinks that restrictions may lead to illegal meat supply by desperate farmers. It is also related with the lack of specialized slaughtering ventures in the area. He suggests to build more slaughterhouses, even upon the loan.
The issue of beneficial loans and other financing is the state's prerogative. This is going very slow. We have about 74 slaughtering benches in the region today. It's of course not enough.
In the meantime, some residents of Pavlodar refrain from consuming meat. Instead, they are now on chicken. Well, we are scared of the anthrax and try to buy more chicken. Well, we don't have a choice. We are afraid of buying it. It is really bad because my daughter, for instance, doesn't eat chicken, but only meat. For the last 3 weeks, the anthrax killed 2 persons, while 5 residents are in hospital. The infection was found in the carcass of 2 animals, the half of one of which the epidemiologists failed to find. They were supposedly sold out in the market.
The grain harvest in Kazakhstan is at risk of being lost because of the droughts. This year, the farmers anticipated to harvest only 15 million tons of grain. The Vice Agriculture Minister Arman Yevniyev said this year Kazakhstan will not fulfill the record-breaking harvest plan of 21 million tons as of last year.
The north and west of Kazakhstan is experiencing extremely dry weather for the last couple of weeks. Most critical situation is observed in Kostanay region. Meanwhile, the drop-down in wheat harvest is related with the reduction of the crop areas, says the Agriculture Ministry representative. Officials are assuring that Kazakhstan will fulfill all agreements on the grain export. The government will finance the transportation of the last year's reserve from north to the west of Kazakhstan. Moreover, only those farmers who have insurances will be compensated for the loss of harvest.
Since we have transferring reserves, and despite the fact that western regions are suffering from the extreme droughts, our region's traditionally growing crops can still have good harvest based upon the average and long-term data.
These were all the latest updates for now. We'll return tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.